Hey guys, it's Yorkie here with some Project Cars, and today we're going to be taking a look at the controller and wheel settings, how to set those up to hopefully give you guys the best experience possible within the game. Now, just quickly before I start, down in the description below are some settings for the gamepad. This is something that someone posted on the Apex Online Racing forums. This is something that they tried out and worked for them. He highly recommended it to other people. Other people have been trying it and they've been giving it praise as well, saying that it's very, very good controller settings and it has greatly improved their gameplay on the gamepad. So feel free to try those, see if they work for you as well. Also, if you go into the options and help in the controller, sorry, I'll just quickly go back to the Xbox controller. These in the configuration, these are the settings that he's talking about, so adjust those. But also down in the bottom here is the controller input mode. You can cycle between options 1, 2 and 3, and as you can see it's changing these as well. And although you may have the same settings across multiple input modes, it will still handle differently, so bear that in mind. I believe Team VVV also said that he was using input mode 3 and 2 mainly 3 I believe it was, so try that as well. He said that he had to use different ones for different cars, so you may need to do a little bit of fiddling there, but hopefully that should improve the twitchiness that a lot of people were complaining about on the forums with the gamepads. Also, if you're having issues with the control bindings, you got multiple presets here. You got analog, classic and the default. Switch those around and hopefully you shall find something that suits you a little bit better. I know one or two people were complaining that gear down and gear up being on the bumpers is a little bit awkward because obviously you have to use the index fingers for those and then you're left using your middle fingers for the throttle and brake, and you don't quite have the fidelity that you would like for those. So yeah, try fiddling with them. Hopefully you'll find something a little bit more, a little bit more useful and a little bit more natural to you gamepad users. But yeah, we're now going to move on to the wheels. So in the background that you can see here is the Logitech Profiler settings. My overall force, overall effect strength that you can see is down at 85. Most things, well, everything is off at 0. And then I've got my degree of rotation to 900 degrees because that is the degree of rotation that my wheel fully allows for. So feel free to copy those if you are using a Logitech Driving Force GT. Those are my personal settings. Also, if you are using other Logitech wheels, you could probably get similar settings. If you're using Thrustmaster or Fanatec, try and use this as a basis. Try and find something similar. I'll post in the description down below a link to some other wheel options to try and help get those set up a little bit better as well. When I can find that link, it should be somewhere on the WMD forums, but hopefully we can get that posted onto the Project Cars official forums for you guys as well. So yeah, feel free to copy those, and then once you're in the game, come back to the control screen and then find the wheel that you have. So there it is, the Logitech Driving Force GT. If you're on a console, obviously you don't have a profiler, so you're purely having to rely on the settings in the game. Now the first thing that you should be doing once you've found your wheel is go into the Calibrate Wheel option. You're then going to start it up. Just follow the instructions at the top. Basically the first stage, what you need to do is turn the wheel in one direction to its full lock. Once it's there, press and hold it there and then click next. Probably be the accept button on your controller or the wheel. Then once you've done that and onto stage 2, bring the wheel back to 0, back to the default position, straight. You're then going to turn the wheel to 90 degrees, which is about 885 for me with this wheel at 900 degrees. Once you're at 90 degrees, hold it there and then press accept as well. And then that is your wheel calibration done. That should give you a 1:1 steering ratio. And basically if you turn 90 degrees in the game, if you turn your actual wheel 90 degrees, you should turn the wheel 90 degrees in the game as well. Same thing you should do is calibrate the pedals as well. Go into that, very simple, just depress all the pedals that you have as far as possible. I don't have a clutch pedal, so that's why that's not showing. And then once you've done that, accept that as well. You can go into this Calibrate force feedback option here. There is some descriptions down the right hand side, however I don't fully understand force feedback settings, so I can't really help you with that, but I leave it all as default anyway. The force feedback settings work absolutely fantastic for me and provide the right feel that I'm after, so don't touch this at all. It's all default. So once you've got those calibration settings done to how you like it, go into the configuration. Steering dead zone and steering sensitivity I'll leave at default, so 0 and 50. Throttle dead zone, take that out, you don't want any dead zones on your pedals. Same with the brake dead zone, so get rid of that. These two are just personal preference sort of things. I up mine to 60 on the throttle and I up it to 50 on the brake sensitivity. I don't have a clutch, so I don't touch those. These I leave as default. Force feedback, try and leave that on 100 if you're on a PC and you have a profiler software, which allows you to adjust the force feedback strength. If it's too heavy for you or your wheel is clipping, adjust it in that, don't adjust it in game. If you're on console, then you don't really have that option. You may have to drop it in the game a little bit, but you want to try and keep it as close to 100 as possible to try and get the best feel for what the car is doing underneath you. The rest of the settings, leave as completely default. Now the editing assignments. This is a tricky area right now because a number of people are having issues assigning buttons. Obviously those on the gamepad and also some wheels, you're fairly limited to the number of assignments that you can assign, purely because you don't have enough buttons for all those assignments. So yeah, it's a little bit tough. I believe there is certain assignments that you need. Most of them are already mapped that you can see here. So the steering options, your throttle and brake, your handbrake, your gear shift up and down, the headlights, the KERS, cycle camera, look behind, those you can ignore, those you can ignore, pause, reset car maybe, and that one you can ignore for certain. Those you might be able to ignore as well, but generally these settings here are the ones that you need assigned to basically allow you to save your settings. I know a number of people have been changing them and then it's not been allowing them to save their settings because you have buttons unmapped. So I believe those, yeah, like I say, those are the ones that I believe you need to set. If you've got buttons spare, or you can want to fiddle around with them and change them in different places, then you could do that as well. Generally I assign my ignition and start engine buttons just for the fun of it. Assign my headlights. Windscreen wipers are a pretty important one if it starts to rain. KERS, DRS I assign those. Crest pit stop. Increase brake bias, I assign that as well, purely because I've got a little red wing or little red wheel on my steering wheel, and I like to assign my brake bias to that so I can twist it around to move the brake bias up and down. Steering assistance, braking assistance leave off. I assign my anti-lock brakes and also traction control because, like I said in a previous video, I like to turn those on and off on the fly in the game. Generally I leave it off, but there are some cars where I may turn it on instead. Cycle camera. Look behind, even though I have track IR, I do have the look behind button just in case I do need to use it. And one that so many people are probably going to be missing, cycle. So I'll come back out of that so you can see it there. Cycle Motec LCD. That is the little dash that sits behind the wheel. On that, it's in most racing cars, and in most of those racing cars, not all of those racing cars that have that display, you can flick through various pages of information. I've done a video previously on it. I'll leave a link to that down in the description below, but make sure to check that out and assign that button so that when you're in cockpit view and you use a different HUD mode, which you can change with the D-pad down, you'll be able to flick through various pages of information and still get all that stuff there. It's quite useful, it's quite cool, and a very nice little realistic feature for you guys. But I believe that is about everything that I wanted to cover. So yeah, that's how you set up your controller and your wheel within the game. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. But otherwise, subscribe to the channel and hopefully I shall see you soon. Take care.